Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Motivational Monday. On today's episode, we're going to talk about enjoying your process. And the reason you want to enjoy your process is because the process is the grunt work, it's the work that nobody sees. And the reason that this is, I think, a big and really, really good episode is the process is, for example, when you see one of these actors or somebody that's maybe really really good shape, they're buff, and people are like, man, I wish I was that buff. I would be, I'd do this, I would do that, that would be so good. That is the end result. That's the end product. The process and the hardship and everything you went through is in that grunt work of the process. It's in your craft. For an example, and the craft is everything. You know, for me, the craft of this channel, the craft of regular life, of me trying to lift weights and trying to be in good shape and be in good health and things along those lines. This goes for almost everything, and it's that grunt work, it's the dirty work that nobody sees that you put in. And that is why you want to, or not that is why, but this is, you want to fall in love with that. You want to fall in love with this process and with the boring stuff. I see a lot of the motivational things. It's like fall in love with the boring stuff. And it's so true because the fun, exciting stuff is the small portion. Getting the time to film it, setting it up, and the filming and things like that is a little bit difficult as well, or like uploading it. It looks like it was, easy peasy, but from point A to point Z to get this uploaded, the editing, maybe I edit it, maybe I don't, to try to get the lighting looking good, to everything along those lines, to is the camera in the right position, does everything look at least a little neat and orderly as I possibly can. Everything along those lines is a part of the grunt work, and the grunt work is what you want to fall in love with. You want to enjoy the little minute things because the process is everything. It's everything. The way that you're going to get from point A to point Z and anything is you want to fall in love with it. When you fall in love with your process, you are going to then believe in it more. You're going to believe in it more. And when you love to do it, it's easier to do. If you don't like to do the hard work or the grunt or the boring stuff, it's going to be very, very easy to not want to do it. And then everything goes. So to sit here and talk about the process, and this, for me, it's almost a system. It's almost a system of a daily routine. What does your routine look like? What is your routine for your craft? How do you develop your skill set? If I came to your job and was like, how did you get, or an example, let's say you want to be a doctor, your process is from how you take notes, from how you study, from how you pay attention to everything along those lines, and that's all the stuff that nobody else sees. When you see a doctor that's out there, wherever, I don't really know much about being a doctor, but when you see one, you almost don't think about all that hard work, all the boring nights of studying, and all the sucky things that went into that. But that person must have really, really enjoyed doing it because it's a long process and you want to fall in love with that. And I can't get into like super detail. I'll get into super detail for the podcast because I can relate to that the most as being here. I can't really sit here and tell you what it's like to be a doctor because I'm not a doctor. But the sucky things of like the podcast is, you know, it's I'm very analytical. Am I repeating things too much? In my first episodes, I was a little bit too off the chain. So it's not even, I would say, the process. It's like I look at everything and I look how I can improve upon my set process or improve upon what I've done. I didn't really like the lighting in the last video, so I wanted to get a little bit more natural lighting. I wanted to really bring things out. I didn't really like the glasses I had on. I put new glasses on. I want things to really pop out here. didn't really like how I did this or how I did that, or I did like. I really enjoyed how I did do a little bit of quips early on, so you kind of get a little bit of my humor and get to know me a little bit more. Because Motivational Monday, I want to be a little bit more serious, but you get those quips. So you really break it down, and then you find the process where my process would be for a new episode is I kind of think, okay, we got the McGregor card coming up. That to me is huge. I love Conor McGregor. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I know he's not everyone's favorite, but I think he's great for the sport of UFC. I definitely want to give my predictions and breakdowns of that card, which I have done and will be out probably Tuesday. You'll get this one on Monday. That one will probably be out Tuesday. So I just kind of think, okay, what do I want to do for Motivational Monday? I want to do process systems, and I said this was a dual system. It was with journey. It was going to be enjoying the journey. Enjoying the journey, I think, needs to be an own separate video, and that is just purely enjoying life. But this one's how are you disciplined? It's being disciplined, but changing it from a negative to a positive of enjoying the gross and the boring stuff that nobody really likes doing. But when you enjoy that and you change that into the narrative of, oh, I actually enjoy this. I enjoy sitting here and crafting and thinking, how am I going to film this? How am I going to set it up? Where am I going to film it? What day is this going to be on? What time do I want it filmed? When do I want this up on my channel? From all of those factors to bring it here, and then you get the video for 20 minutes. It took maybe a day to 2 days of sitting there thinking and crafting on how I want to do this, how I don't want to do this, and bring it to you guys. And that is the stuff that people don't get, that people don't understand. And that's when I gave the comparison to, you see somebody that's in really good shape, you don't think about the sucky parts that went into it. But if you do embrace those sucky parts and you embrace that boring effort and you really sit there and it becomes something you enjoy, it's game over. It's game over. My belief is if you go up against somebody that is good at their job but you love it, you're going to beat that person mainly 10 times out of 10 because it's something you love, versus somebody who just does this because they like it, or they just do it, not that they like it, they just do it because that was their avenue. Like, I wanted to do air conditioning, but I didn't have that passion for it. I didn't have that passion. I didn't love it. I wouldn't, be excited to go and do it every day like I am here, where my excitement's here, my passion, and this is the love that I want to generate through. And I feel with my personality, with growing up, I used to just grab the phone as a little kid and just go film things. I didn't even know I did it until I became older and we found them, and I was like, oh my god, I've been just addicted to being on the camera since being a little kid. So then it's like, why wouldn't? No wonder I turned out to be a podcaster, because I love to talk as well. And what's even more fun? I'm talking to myself. The camera's here, but nobody's here with me. I'm talking to myself. So it's like, this is perfect for me. This is a perfect outlet, perfect job. I get to get my words out. This is just perfect. And as you can see, I just legitimately can't sit still here because I'm just off the walls of excitement. I'm up, I want to move around. That's like everything along those lines, just because it's excitement and I enjoy it. So with this is also enjoying your process. Find something you enjoy, so then you enjoy the process. This one might not be a super duper long Motivational Monday because it's a little bit of a short and sweet message, but it's something that I really want people to encourage, is go out there and find something you do. I really look at, I go out there into the real world, and this would be myself included. I'm going to include myself in this, where you can kind of just go places and you can tell people don't really enjoy what they do. They don't really enjoy it because they don't have the love for it, and that's a major factor. Go down. I encourage everybody, if you have the means and you have the opportunity, I'm blessed to have this opportunity, but if you have the means and everything, go out there and find something that you want to do. Find something that you want to do, because it's going to make everything you do, because you're going to already be in love with the process because you love to do it. And instead of, sitting there and making it a negative thing as well, where it's like, now I'm turning something I love into something that now becomes a job. It's just, think of it as something you just love to do. So I just love to do it. I would sit here and do it just because I wanted to, and I get to do it as a career. It's so fun. And then I don't know who said it, but I don't remember who said it. I think it might have been John Kavanaugh, McGregor's coach. I don't remember exactly who said it, but it's been said before where it's, fighting is such a small part. And I really like to really bring the UFC in, but it would be an analogy for everything. Like, the training is such a big part. Like I talked about the bodybuilder or somebody that's super in shape. It's the dieting, the nutrition, the lifting of the weights, the sacrifice that you make for that because you love to do it. You're going to beat everybody out. If you love to lift weights and you want to be big and you're fine with eating, you're going to beat the guy that doesn't want to do that. That doesn't want to do it. And that's just simple as it gets. But it's also, the main part of this is falling in love with it as well. If you can't, if it's not something you love, then you gotta fall in love with it. Maybe if you can, falling in love with those minor details. Where that quote I was saying was, fighting is 25 minutes. You need to fall in love, or you have to sit there and be in there with the training. That's the sucky part, is that you're training all these days for 25 minutes on one day. It's such a small part of the process that everybody else sits there and thinks of everything else. Like, you sit there and you think of, when you see these two fighters get in there, when you see McGregor and Holloway get in there, that was, 8 weeks, maybe even more. They announced it, but they've probably been in camp. It's 10 to 12 weeks of solid repetition, of game planning, of eating good, eating quality food, having to be in the best shape, cutting weight, and everything along those lines. The fight for such a small portion of 25 minutes. So everything else is the long growing process. And that is where you want to fall in love with that. You want to fall in love with each little detail. And my mindset, especially for the podcast, is trying to make it the best that I can, and then, I'm giving you the best I can, then I'll improve upon it. And then I'll just start conquering these things as a little achievements along the way. And I encourage everybody to fall in love with it. And how would I say you fall in love with it is you gotta find something that you love. Gotta. It's kind of I'm sitting here telling you gotta fall in love with the process, and it's like you gotta find something you love. If not, how would you fall in love with the process? Break it down. Break it down, make it fun, make it exciting. Or I said about the doctor, it's about how you take notes, it's about how you do things. It's make the notes fun, make flashcards, do something fun with it, where I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, and I marinate on ideas. I marinate how I'm going to do this, and I visualize how I'm going to set it up and how I want this to be, and the jokes I'm going to crack. And it's unscripted, so when I get on here, I'm just going to flow with it. Maybe I don't use that stuff, maybe I do, but for me, it's playing around. You don't have to be super serious and rigid all the time. You don't have to make it super serious, where this isn't. I am very, serious about the podcast, but I don't make my process super serious. I don't really gotta cram in there and make this a really big ordeal. I'm gonna flow with it. I know the things, here are the basic things I need to do, and let me just flow and let it flow with things. So that's how I would say you want to do. Flow with the ideas, let things flow with you. Don't make it too serious, and then that boring stuff, fall in love with it, because it's gonna, wherever your goal is, if you're like, this is gonna be my career, I could do this for the rest of my life, then boom, you fall in love with it, and each time you do it, you're gonna get better, and it's just gonna be a passion really for you. And that's what my encouragement. And the whole meaning of this is find something that you want to do. That would be my encouragement for everybody. Find something that you love, and if you can make it lucrative, do it. Do it. Then fall in love with that boring stuff, because the reason that boring stuff is so important is because it goes unseen. Nobody sees that thing's behind the work. So it's like, oh, I do all this, people are going to appreciate that. It's most likely The only person that's going to appreciate it is you. The only person that is going to love it is going to be you. So you love it and you love to do it. And you love, getting in there and nitpicking and doing all these different things and then boom, producing it and everything along those lines. Such a big part because that's what nobody's going to give you credit for. It's going to be like, oh, this person was lucky. Oh, it's all the hard work that goes into it. It's all the long nights of everything. And you sit there and you really soak it in, live into the moment and do it and enjoy it. And that is where, I am going to throw the journey in here. And that's what makes this so big and so important, is because the journey of life is soaking it up and you enjoy it, and just enjoy everything that you do. Enjoy everything that you do with this, whatever it is, whatever your goal is even. Soak it up, live it fully, and enjoy it, because I've sit there and I look back at my life and I look at times that I was super dedicated towards something and I didn't enjoy it, and then when I got it, it didn't feel accomplished. So that's another reason you want to sit there and take in the experience and really just enjoy it or live in it. That is my encouragement, because when I wanted to get my car, or there were certain things that I've been after that was a goal, I was so focused on the goal and going out there and trying to obtain the goal that I didn't sit there and I didn't enjoy those little things. And this is where these two kind of go hand in hand. I know we're going off fly, we're going off script, baby, not that there was one, but you want to almost go in there, and I want to, and that's why this goes so hand in hand, because it's the journey of life as well into this. But be present in that moment and just enjoy it, because not everything stays the same. You're not going to be the same that you were. And when I look at the journey of life, where I look at my process, the goal, the goals are different. And this is really like, how do you enjoy your goals, or how do you obtain your goals? This is like 70,000 different meanings of enjoy the process. It's the process of anything that you do. I want to make that clear. So how would you enjoy it? Live it. Live in that moment and receive it. Because I'm telling you, I've been there where I've been so dedicated and I've been so focused on the outcome that I didn't enjoy the process, that when you get there, there isn't that fulfillment, because you didn't enjoy it. It was always just, I'm going to get this. Like, I remember graduating and I didn't sit in that moment and I didn't enjoy that moment as I should. Do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. I don't want to regret anything. But it was something that I got to learn a little bit better, to really be present and enjoy this now. Not what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen the next day. I got this, that, and that. And that's me, where I'm like, enjoy it. Enjoy that process of living it, live in that moment, and just soak it up, because not everything in life is going to stay the same, and that's what the journey, and that's what's so huge about the journey. Everything changes, nothing stays the same, and you want to sit there and living in the moment's huge. And that is where that process, you can look at it negatively as the process sucks, it's boring, it's lame, nobody likes the process, nobody likes anything like that. But I'm telling you right now, when you start living in that moment of that process and you start really living it, it becomes way easier. And it's going to feel more fulfilled. Whether your process is just to get better each and every day, or if, let's say, your process at the end is going to be the doctor, but you sit there and you take the notes and you experience it and you take in this time, because chasing something and then getting something is completely different. I sat there and I sit back and I think, I was let me get this podcast, and then I look back, I'm like, man, I really enjoy all those moments of practicing it and being on the hunt. And being on the hunt of things is different than actually acquiring it. And that's why I'm saying, when you don't take a second and you don't enjoy it, it doesn't feel the same way. Where if you're just so focused on, your goal is that you're going to be the doctor, and that's all you're focusing on, and you kind of just skim through everything else. You didn't take the time to enjoy where you're at and enjoy, you know what, I'm young, I'm getting to this position every day, and the fulfillment that every day I do this process, every day that I'm in here and I'm grinding and I'm sacrificing the things that I don't do, or oh, I don't go out and I don't party, oh, I don't go out and do this because I'm here. You sit that in there and it stacks up wins. And that's where that process believes in, where you don't even look at the goal. You're just here in the now of here's what I need to do to get there, but I'm focused only on this. I'm focused only on the process. I'm only focused on taking the notes and learning and progressing. That then when it's all said and done, the fulfillment and the feeling is so much better because you sat there and instead of thinking of the end goal, and that's why I've heard people say, or I've heard about the mental scorecard, is when your mental scorecard is just being the best you can be every day, the goals kind of just come in. You know, when you're focused and you fall in love with that craft and you fall in love with this. Early on, it took me a minute to finally click everything together, but you know, when you fall in love with this, when you fall in love with that process, you know, it's just the journey. You just kind of go. You know, it's like I'm here, I'm focused on this, I know this, when I do this, it's going to get me there, but I'm just going to focus on this each day. I'm going to just focus on this process, and that is going to take you so much farther than everything else, because maybe your goals start to shift and change, and that is the journey, where the journey of life, things change. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm here, I'm doing this each and every day, and I'm starting to, you know, my goals are starting to shift and I'm starting to shift with it, but I wasn't so focused on the outcome. I was focused on my process, and I was making my process the best. And because you did that, you get that fulfillment. And that is where, and everything that I say here, I try to put in my own life. Not that I do, but it's something that I've sat here and I've thought about, where I got my car late and I didn't sit there and I didn't enjoy the process. And I got the car and it felt kind of surreal, and then it was like a one big moment gone. You know, I didn't live in it. You know, it was like, okay, I got the license, time for the car. It was always the next thing. It was never soaking up that process and enjoying that moment, so then when you look back at it again, you're like, wow. Because I like to reflect in a way where, like, where was I last year? I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I'm driving now, and last year I still didn't have my license. I got my license August 20th. I think I got my car like the 23rd or 4th, or maybe I got my license on the 18th. I got my license someday. I'll have to go in and fact check, but I got it one day. And, excuse me there, where I didn't sit there and I didn't sit there and like, wow, I did this. I didn't give myself the opportunity to soak in the moment. It was on to the next thing. So I want to encourage everybody. That's why the process is so important. When you fall in love with that, the end goal of wherever you're trying to get to, it doesn't even matter, because you're in love with this. Your focus is making your process the best that it can be, not wherever it takes you in the end. Or, you know, you think about the end, you're like, okay, you know, you're a doctor for 10 years, but you just enjoy doing all this. Your craft gets so good, the note-taking, whatever, is so good, and you get so fulfillment from that than the end goal. So let's say if you never even reach the end goal, let's say then you're like, you know what, I didn't want to be the doctor, but you know what, I tried my best. I went in there, my process was the best it could have been. I left no doubts on the table in my mind. I didn't go in there and I didn't go halfway. I went fully in there. I fell in love with the process. I fell in love with the things that got me there, things that got me to the dance. But I realized it wasn't for me. And that is, you want to know how you fall in love with that process. If you find something you love and you sit there and you be present in that moment, and you don't think about the goal, you don't think about anything else. You think about how can you make the process the best it can be, and you just focus strictly on the process. You don't think past anything past this here, because guess what? Okay, I know this is part A, and then this is part B, this is part C, and this will eventually get me to part Z. But if I kind of skimp out on this, the goal and where I want to go is gonna vanish if I don't. So when I say fall in love, it doesn't mean you actually have to love it, but it's being present in that moment, sitting in there, feeling it, absorbing it into the mind, and living strictly in the present of that moment to get what you want. And that's kind of what this is all about here. And then you enjoy life, enjoy where it takes you, because your mental scorecard or your mindset is, I'm trying to make the process the best I can be. So whatever happens after that, it is what it is. My fulfillment is making the process the best it can be. And that is what I hope everyone takes away from this, or what you take away from this. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. You all have a great one. Have a blessed Monday.